17 years of marriage. The number sits in my head like a countdown timer, ticking backward to when Madison and I first met in that crowded lecture hall at State. She was assertive then, cutting through group discussions with surgical precision, while I took notes in the margins. Driven. That's what I called it. What I fell for. She was the one who suggested we move in together junior year. The one who picked our wedding venue. The one who decided Sarah's middle name and Jake's preschool. I was steady, methodical, the guy who balanced the checkbooks and remembered oil changes. We built a life that way, brick by brick, her vision and my execution. Now I'm stirring spaghetti sauce while Jake argues with his math homework at the kitchen table. Sarah's upstairs, probably texting friends about some drama I'll never understand. Madison's at another conference, always another conference. Professional development, she calls it. 3 weekends a month, sometimes 4. High school guidance counselors apparently need constant retreating, constant workshops on teen psychology and college prep strategies. I handle the logistics, packed lunches for the kids, soccer practice schedules, grocery runs, the machinery of family life. I don't mind, never have. This is what partnership looks like at 43. The front door slams. Sarah's footsteps thunder down the stairs, heavier than usual. She appears in the kitchen doorway, phone clutched in her fist like a weapon. Dad. Her voice cracks with urgency. You need to hear this. She's pale. 15 years old, and she looks like she's seen something that aged her. I set down my wooden spoon, turning to face her fully. What's wrong? She hands me the phone without meeting my eyes. Mom butt dialed me. It's been recording for 40 minutes. I take the phone. The screen shows an active call, Madison's contact photo smiling back at me. I can hear voices in the background, distant, muffled, but clear enough. Madison's laugh. I know that laugh, but I've never heard it sound like this. Her voice carries through the speaker, casual and unguarded. Derek's so emotionally dense, I swear sometimes I think he'd need a roadmap to find his own feelings. A man's voice responds, deeper, unfamiliar. You married him, though. Madison's response comes with a bitter edge I've never heard before. I married stability. I married a checklist. House, kids, retirement fund. But God, Darren, some days I feel like I'm drowning in his predictability. My hand tightens around the phone. Sarah's watching me, her face a mirror of my own shock. Madison continues, her voice getting looser, more careless. He's a good father. I'll give him that. But as a husband, as a man, I outgrew him years ago. The conversation continues. Madison's voice gets looser, more careless. She mentions our bedroom, or lack thereof. Calls me vanilla and safe. The man, Darren, makes jokes about waking sleeping giants. I listen to the full 40 minutes, every word. Then I replay it twice more while Sarah sits across from me, picking at her cuticles. Dad? Her voice is small, uncertain. I set the phone down. Look at my daughter. Really look at her. She's waiting for me to explode, to throw something, to match the betrayal with rage. Instead, I turn back to the stove. The sauce is starting to bubble. Dinner in 10 minutes, I say, my voice surprisingly steady. Tell your brother to wash his hands. The betrayal isn't fire burning through my chest. It's frost. Cold, methodical, crystallizing every conversation we've had over the past 2 years into something I can finally see clearly. Sarah hesitates, studying my face. Dad, are you? I'm fine. I taste the sauce, add salt with deliberate precision. We'll talk later, after Jake's asleep. She nods and disappears upstairs. I finish cooking, set the table, call the kids down for dinner. We eat like any other Tuesday night. Jake complains about his teacher. Sarah picks at her food. I ask about homework and weekend plans. Normal. Everything perfectly, devastatingly normal. Except now I know what Madison thinks of this normalcy, what she thinks of me. After the kids are in bed, I sit in my home office with the door closed. Madison's still at her conference, her retreat in Columbus. Due back tomorrow evening. I don't call her. Don't send a furious text. Don't confront. I research. By midnight, I've learned 3 things. Darren Murphy is Madison's supervisor at the school district. He's been divorced twice. And 3 months ago, Madison started taking weekend trips that weren't on any conference calendar I can find. I close the laptop and stare at my reflection in the dark window. 17 years. She called me a checklist she outgrew. Fine. Let's see how she likes being checked off. I don't sleep. Instead, I lie in our bed. My bed now, I suppose, and plan. Madison's pillow still smells like her shampoo, vanilla and coconut. The scent used to comfort me. Now it feels like evidence. By 6 a.m., I'm dressed and making coffee. Sarah finds me in the kitchen, dark circles under her eyes. She accepts the travel mug I hand her gratefully. Did you sleep? Some. I study her face, seeing the same exhaustion I feel. Sarah, what I heard last night, it was horrible. She takes a sip of coffee, her hands shaking slightly. Mom was laughing about you, about us. She called me manipulative. That detail hits harder than her comments about me. I keep my voice level. When? During the recording. She told him I was manipulative and Jake was... She pauses, swallowing hard. She said Jake was needy. I process this. My wife, the guidance counselor who preaches about building students' self-esteem, mocking our 12-year-old son to her lover. We're not telling Jake, I say firmly. Not yet. Sarah nods, relief evident in her posture. She's grown up overnight, and I hate that Madison's selfishness cost her that innocence. After dropping the kids at school, I drive to Best Buy. The sales associate is eager to help when I explain I need to monitor my company's devices for security purposes. He sells me spyware that mirrors deleted texts, tracks GPS locations, syncs deleted photos. Family plan? He asks, assumedly referring to the multiple devices. Something like that. At home, I install everything on my laptop. Within an hour, I have access to Madison's complete digital footprint. Every text, every email, every app she's deleted. Darren Murphy. The messages go back 8 months. They start professional, schedule changes, meeting notes. Then personal, complaints about spouses, shared jokes. Then intimate. I read their entire relationship unfold in reverse. Her telling him I'm checking out of our marriage. Him encouraging her to explore her needs. Discussion of hotel rooms and weekend getaways. The worst part isn't the sex, though those messages make my stomach turn. It's the casual cruelty. Madison describing my dad jokes as embarrassing. My careful financial planning as controlling. My steady presence as suffocating. She's rewritten our entire marriage as a prison sentence. I screenshot everything, create folders, build a timeline. Then I buy a second phone and install a GPS tracker in Madison's car. Not in the engine, too obvious. Inside the headrest, small enough to be invisible. When Madison comes home that evening, I'm making dinner. She kisses my cheek like she has 1,000 times before. How was the conference? I ask, not looking up from the stove. Boring. Same old presentations about college prep anxiety. She sets her overnight bag by the stairs with a tired sigh. Kids okay? Fine. Sarah had a math test. Jake's science project is due Friday. We talk about schedules and grocery lists. Normal married conversation. She doesn't suspect anything, but I'm recording it all now. Every conversation, every lie, every casual dismissal of the life we built together. 3 days later, the car tracker pays off. Madison tells me she's going to a faculty meeting that runs late. Instead, she drives to the Marriott downtown, stays for 3 hours. I'm parked across the street when she emerges with Darren Murphy. He's taller than I expected, graying at the temples, expensive suit. They don't kiss goodbye, too public, but his hand lingers on her lower back. I photograph everything. That night, Madison complains about the long meeting. Says the principal is micromanaging the counseling department. She's convincing, animated, full of specific details about budget discussions and policy changes. She's a gifted liar. I nod and ask follow-up questions, playing the supportive husband while mentally cataloging each deception. "You seem tired," she says, studying my face with what might be genuine concern. "Everything okay?" "Just work stress. You know how it is." She accepts this and goes to bed early. I stay up until 2 a.m., organizing evidence. Text screenshots, GPS logs, hotel receipts charged to her personal credit card. Madison has been billing our family for her affair, using our money to subsidize her betrayal. I should be furious, should be throwing furniture and demanding explanations. Instead, I'm calculating, planning, building a case. Sarah finds me in the office the next morning. "Dad, you look terrible." I close the laptop quickly. "I'm fine." "No, you're not." She sits in the chair across from my desk, her teenage directness cutting through my pretense. "What are you doing?" I study my daughter's face, so much like Madison's, but with an honesty Madison lost years ago. "Protecting our family." From Mom? From the consequences of her choices. Sarah processes this, her intelligence evident in the way she connects the dots. She's smart, my daughter. Smarter than I was at her age. "Are you getting divorced?" The question hangs between us. I could lie, could pretend everything's fine until I'm ready to act. But Sarah deserves better than Madison's version of truth. "Probably," I say. "But that's not your fault. Or Jake's. This is about choices your mother made." She nods, tears starting. "I heard her tell Darren that we don't understand her, that we're holding her back from becoming who she's supposed to be." I want to comfort her. Want to tell her that Madison didn't mean it, that people say things they don't mean when they're confused. But I'm done lying to protect Madison's image. Sometimes adults convince themselves that their problems are everyone else's fault. I say gently. Your mother has forgotten that family isn't something you grow out of. It's something you choose every day. She stopped choosing us. Sarah's voice is flat with realization. Yes, she did. Sarah wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. What happens now? I stand up, close the laptop with finality. Now we choose ourselves. The law office smells like leather and old coffee. Richard Brennan, divorce attorney, spreads my evidence across his conference table like a crime scene investigator. Screenshots, financial records, GPS logs, audio files. This is comprehensive, he says, adjusting his glasses with obvious approval. How long have you been documenting? 6 weeks. And you haven't confronted your wife? Not yet. He leans back in his chair, studying me with professional interest. Most people would have exploded by now, thrown the cheating spouse out, demanded explanations. You've been methodical. I want custody of my children, full custody. That's ambitious in Ohio. Courts prefer joint arrangements. I slide another folder across the table. Then look at this. Sarah's journal entries, photocopied with her permission. Page after page of a teenager processing her mother's emotional abandonment. Madison missing school events, canceling mother-daughter plans, being too busy for conversations about boys and friendships. Your daughter gave you these? Brennan asks, genuine surprise in his voice. She wants to testify. Brennan raises an eyebrow. That's unusual. Most kids avoid choosing sides. Madison made the choice for her. Sarah heard her mother mock both of us to her lover, heard her call Sarah manipulative and Jake needy. Jesus. He flips through more pages, his expression growing darker. The affair is one thing, but this level of parental alienation, there's more. I show him Madison's work schedule, cross-referenced with her hotel stays. She's been using school conference funds for personal travel, claiming professional development while meeting Darren at expensive hotels. Financial fraud? Brennan's voice sharpens with interest. Misuse of public funds. She's a guidance counselor funded by taxpayers. I've documented at least 12 instances where she claimed to attend conferences that either didn't exist or she never registered for. Brennan whistles low. You could report this to the school board. I'm going to. That'll destroy her career. I meet his eyes steadily. She destroyed our family, and she did it with taxpayer money while neglecting the children she's supposed to be guiding through their academic futures. He nods slowly, respect evident in his expression. You're not just divorcing her. You're dismantling her entire life. I'm holding her accountable. We spend 2 hours mapping strategy, file for divorce and custody simultaneously. Serve papers the same morning the school board receives an anonymous tip about financial misconduct. Hit her professionally and personally in one coordinated strike. She'll be blindsided, Brennan warns. Good. She's been blindsiding our kids for months. That evening, I sit with Sarah in her room. She's doing homework, earbuds in, occasionally glancing at her phone. Normal teenage behavior that feels precious now. Sarah. I wait for her to pull out an earbud. Mr. Brennan thinks you might need to testify in court about Mom's behavior, about how her actions have affected you. Her face goes pale. In front of Mom? Yes. She sets down her pencil, processing this. Will it help? It might determine whether you and Jake stay with me or have to split time between households. She considers this for a long moment. What would I have to say? The truth. About the phone call. About how she's been treating you both. About which parent you feel safe with. Sarah's quiet for what feels like an eternity. Then, I don't feel safe with her anymore, Dad. She lies about everything. She pretends to care about our problems when she's actually texting him. She's fake. The pain in her voice is evident. That's hard to say about your mother. It's harder to live with someone you can't trust. My 15-year-old daughter has just articulated what took me 17 years to understand. Okay, I say, reaching over to squeeze her hand. We'll do this together. 2 days later, I compile everything into a comprehensive report for the school board. Financial records, timeline of fraudulent conference claims, evidence of the inappropriate relationship with a supervisor. I don't include the personal details, the mocking texts about our children, the casual cruelty toward our marriage. This is about professional misconduct. I print copies, seal them in envelopes, and drive to the school district office. The anonymous tip line is designed for exactly this situation. Community members reporting educator misconduct. Walking back to my car, I feel something I haven't experienced in months. Control. Madison has been playing a game where she rewrites reality, where her selfishness becomes self-discovery and her betrayal becomes empowerment. She's convinced herself that she's the victim of a stale marriage, trapped by a boring husband and demanding children. Tomorrow, she'll discover that reality has consequences, and I'll be the one holding the scorecard. Madison's key turns in the front door at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. She's supposed to be at work until 5, but she's been suspended pending investigation. I know this because Richard Brennan called an hour ago. It's done, he'd said with satisfaction. Board received everything this morning. She's been placed on administrative leave. They're launching a full audit. Now she's home, and I can hear her anger from the kitchen. Her heels click across the hardwood like gunshots. "Derek!" she shouts, her voice echoing through the house. "Derek, where are you?" I'm making coffee. Take my time measuring the grounds, adding water, pressing the button. Let her find me. She appears in the doorway, face flushed, suit wrinkled. Her professional mask has cracked completely. "I've been suspended," she says, the words tumbling out in a rush. "Pending review. Someone sent HR everything. Everything, Derek. Financial records, travel logs, conference schedules." I pour coffee into my favorite mug, the one Sarah made in art class 3 years ago. "Want some coffee?" Are you listening to me? I've been suspended. Someone's been stalking me, documenting my every move. That's terrible. I add cream, stir slowly, deliberately calm. Who would do something like that? Her eyes narrow with suspicion. You tell me. I set down my spoon, look at her directly. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't. Her voice shakes with barely controlled rage. Don't lie to me. This is too detailed, too comprehensive. Someone's been watching me for weeks. I reach into my briefcase, pull out the manila envelope with practiced casualness. As long as we're talking about lying. I slide the divorce papers across the kitchen island. Madison stares at them like they might explode. What is this? Divorce petition, custody motion, financial disclosure requirements. I sip my coffee, watching her face. Your attorney will explain the details. She picks up the papers with trembling hands. You're divorcing me? I'm ending our marriage. There's a difference. Because of some school board investigation? Derek, I can explain. Because you called me emotionally dense. Because you told your lover that our daughter is manipulative and our son is needy. Because you've been billing our family for your affair. The color drains from her face completely. How do you... know? Sarah heard you. 43 minutes of you mocking everything we built together. Describing our marriage as a prison sentence and our children as obstacles to your self-actualization. Madison sinks into a chair, the fight leaving her body. The butt dial. Among other things. She looks up at me, and for a moment I see the woman I married. Vulnerable, searching, almost young. Derek, I know how this looks. How it looks. Madison, you've been fucking your boss for 8 months, using school funds to pay for hotel rooms, lying to our kids about where you go every weekend. This isn't about how things look. This is about who you've become. I didn't mean for it to happen. Darren and I, we just connected. I hold up my hand, cutting her off. Stop. I don't want to hear about your connection. I want to talk about Jake asking me why mommy doesn't help with homework anymore. About Sarah crying because you canceled 3 mother-daughter plans in a row to spend weekends with your lover. Madison's crying now, mascara starting to streak. I was confused. I felt trapped. You don't understand what it's like to be married to me? You're right. I don't understand what it's like to be married to someone who pays the bills, coaches Little League, handles every crisis, and makes your life possible while you rewrite history to justify betraying him. I pull out my phone, scroll to a screenshot. Want to see what I understand? I understand you telling Darren that Jake's spelling problems are embarrassing, that you're ashamed to attend parent-teacher conferences because our son isn't as academically advanced as other kids in his class. Her eyes widen in horror. You read that? I read everything. Every cruel joke, every dismissive comment, every time you used our children's vulnerabilities as entertainment for your lover. Madison doubles over like I've physically struck her. Oh, God. Oh, God, Derek, I never meant... Yes, you did. You meant every word. You just never thought I'd hear them. She looks up at me, mascara now fully streaking down her cheeks. What do you want? Money? I'll end things with Darren. I'll quit my job. Whatever you need. I want our children to grow up with a parent who doesn't see them as inconveniences, who doesn't mock their struggles or use their trust as a weapon. I love them. I love you. No. I finish my coffee, rinse the mug in the sink with deliberate precision. You love the idea of being loved. You love having a family that makes you look stable and successful. But you don't love the work of actually being a mother or a wife. Madison stands up, steadying herself against the counter. You can't take my children away from me. I'm not taking them anywhere. They're staying in their home with their father, in the life we built before you decided to burn it down for validation from a twice-divorced supervisor. I'll fight this. I'll prove you manipulated them against me. I open my briefcase again, pull out Sarah's journal entries. Sarah's testimony, Jake's statements about feeling neglected. Their own words, in their own handwriting, documenting months of maternal neglect while you pursued your authentic self. Madison grabs the papers, scanning the pages frantically. You coached them to write this. I didn't have to. You coached them yourself every time you chose Darren over family dinner. Every time you were too busy texting him to help with homework. Every time you lied about where you were going. She crumples the papers, throws them at me with desperate anger. You're not a real man, Derek. A real man would have fought for his marriage, would have tried to win me back instead of plotting like some pathetic spy. I pick up the scattered papers, smooth them out methodically. You're right. A real man would have confronted you months ago, would have demanded honesty and respect. But I was too busy being a husband and father to notice that my wife had stopped being either. Madison slumps against the counter, defeated. Darren makes me feel seen, feel alive, feel like more than just a mother and wife. And I make you feel safe, feel provided for, feel like you can explore your authentic self with a financial safety net and childcare coverage. I stack the papers neatly. But safety and stability aren't sexy. They're just the foundation that makes everything else possible. I do love you. You love what I do for you. There's a difference. The front door opens. Sarah's voice calls out cheerfully, Dad? I'm home. Madison's eyes widen in panic. The kids know everything. Sarah's known for weeks. Jake figured it out when you missed his science fair to meet Darren at the Marriott. Sarah appears in the kitchen doorway, stops when she sees her mother's tear-streaked face. Mom? What's wrong? Madison looks between us, the timeline clicking into place. You turned my children against me. No, Sarah says quietly, her voice steady and mature beyond her years. You did that yourself. Madison stares at our daughter, really looks at her, and sees the same disappointment I've been living with for months. Sarah, honey, I can explain. I don't want you to explain. I want you to apologize. To Dad, to me, to Jake. For lying to us. For making us worry about you when you were really just being selfish. Madison's composure finally breaks completely. She sobs, reaching for Sarah, who takes a deliberate step back. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did hurt us. And you don't get to make that disappear by crying about it now. My 15-year-old daughter has just delivered the verdict that 17 years of marriage couldn't reach. Madison looks at me one more time, desperation and hatred warring in her expression. This isn't over. Yes, I say with quiet finality. It is. The courtroom is smaller than I expected. Fluorescent lights, wood paneling that belongs in 1987, and the peculiar silence that comes from everyone whispering. Madison sits with her attorney, a sharp woman in a navy suit who looks like she bills $400 an hour. She's been coaching Madison for weeks, trying to craft a narrative that salvages maternal rights from the wreckage of infidelity. Richard Brennan adjusts his tie and spreads our evidence across the plaintiff's table. Remember, this isn't about punishment. It's about the children's best interests. I nod, but we both know it's about more than that. It's about accountability. Judge Morrison enters, a gray-haired woman in her 60s who looks like she's heard every sob story twice. Madison's attorney stands, presenting their case first. Your Honor, Madison Grayson is a dedicated mother and education professional who made personal mistakes during a difficult period in her marriage. While she acknowledges poor judgment in her relationship with Mr. Murphy, she maintains that her love for her children and her commitment to their welfare never wavered. The attorney paints Madison as a woman lost, seeking connection in the wrong place, but fundamentally devoted to Sarah and Jake. She emphasizes Madison's career in education, her understanding of child development, her years of successful parenting. Mrs. Grayson requests joint custody with equal parenting time. She's prepared to attend counseling, to rebuild trust with her family, and to demonstrate that a mother's temporary lapse in judgment doesn't negate 15 years of devoted parenthood. Madison takes the stand. She's composed, professional, wearing a conservative dress that screams, "responsible mother." Her testimony is carefully crafted. She accepts responsibility for the affair, expresses regret for the pain she caused, and emphasizes her commitment to repairing relationships with Sarah and Jake. "I made terrible mistakes," she says, looking directly at the judge with practiced sincerity. "I hurt my husband and confused my children. But I never stopped loving them. I never stopped being their mother. Given the chance, I will prove that our family can heal from this." Her attorney introduces character witnesses, colleagues who testify about Madison's dedication to students, neighbors who describe her involvement in school activities, her own mother who speaks about Madison's childhood dreams of motherhood. It's convincing, professional, exactly what you'd expect from someone who counsels teenagers for a living. Then Richard Brennan stands up. "Your Honor, the defendant has crafted a narrative about temporary lapses and momentary confusion, but the evidence shows something different. A pattern of deception, financial fraud, and parental neglect that spans 8 months. He introduces the timeline methodically. Madison's first text to Darren, the gradual escalation, the hotel receipts charged to the family credit card, the falsified conference expenses, the GPS logs showing her actual locations versus her claimed whereabouts. This isn't about one mistake, Your Honor. This is about systematic betrayal of every commitment that defines family." Then he plays the audio. Madison's voice fills the courtroom, laughing about my emotional density, mocking our children's vulnerabilities, describing our marriage as a checklist she outgrew. Her casual cruelty is stark against the acoustic tiles, and I watch her carefully constructed image crumble. The judge's expression hardens as Madison's recorded voice calls Jake needy and Sarah manipulative. When the audio ends, the silence stretches uncomfortably. "Mrs. Grayson," Judge Morrison says, her voice sharp with disapproval, "do you recognize this conversation?" Madison's attorney objects, privacy violations, illegally obtained evidence, but the judge overrules with a firm gesture. The recording was made by Madison herself, inadvertently, and shared with her minor child. "Yes," Madison whispers, shrinking in her chair. "I recognize it. And these are your opinions about your children?" I was angry, frustrated. I said things I didn't mean. "You said them to a man you were having an affair with, using them as justification for your behavior." Madison's composure finally breaks. "I was confused. I felt trapped. I didn't know how to what? How to discuss your marital problems with your husband instead of your supervisor? How to attend your son's science fair instead of meeting your lover at a hotel?" The judge has heard enough. She calls for Sarah. My daughter walks to the witness stand with remarkable composure for 15 years old. She's wearing the dress she picked out herself. Simple, navy blue, nothing that screams coached testimony. "Sarah, do you understand why you're here?" "Yes, Your Honor. You're deciding where Jake and I should live." "And what would you prefer?" Sarah glances at Madison, then back at the judge with steady resolve. "I want to live with my dad." "Can you tell me why?" Sarah's voice is steady, clear. "Because I trust him. Because he's been taking care of us while Mom was busy with other things. Because he doesn't lie to us about where he's going or what he's doing." "How do you feel about your mother?" "I love her, but I don't feel safe with her anymore." "What do you mean by safe?" Sarah considers this carefully, her maturity evident. "I mean, I can't trust what she tells me. She lies about little things and big things. She pretends to care about our problems while she's texting someone else. She makes promises she doesn't keep." Madison's attorney objects, but Sarah continues without missing a beat. "I heard her making fun of Dad and Jake to her boyfriend. She called Jake needy because he has trouble with spelling. She called me manipulative because I asked her to come to my school play." The judge leans forward with obvious interest. "How did that make you feel?" like she sees us as problems to manage instead of kids to love. It's devastating testimony, delivered without drama or manipulation. Just a teenager explaining why she no longer trusts her mother. Jake follows. He's younger, more nervous, but equally clear. "I want to stay with Dad," he says, his voice small but determined. "Mom's always on her phone now. She forgets things. She promised to help with my science project, but then said she was too busy." "Do you love your mother?" "Yes, but she's different now, like she's pretending to be our mom instead of actually being our mom." Out of the mouths of babes. Madison's attorney tries to rehabilitate their case, emphasizing the importance of mother-child relationships, the potential for healing, the dangers of alienating children from a parent. But the evidence is overwhelming. When Judge Morrison delivers her ruling, her voice is firm and final. The court finds that Mr. Derek Grayson has demonstrated superior fitness for primary custody. The evidence shows a pattern of deception, financial irresponsibility, and parental neglect on the part of Mrs. Madison Grayson that undermines her credibility as a custodial parent. Mr. Grayson is awarded full legal and physical custody of both minor children. Mrs. Grayson is granted supervised visitation every other weekend, with the possibility of expanded access contingent upon completion of counseling and demonstration of consistent, truthful communication with the children. Madison collapses. Actually collapses, sobbing into her hands while her attorney pats her shoulder ineffectively. "I feel no satisfaction, no victory, just the quiet relief of knowing my children won't be shuttled between households, won't have to navigate the cognitive dissonance of a mother who loves them but treats them as obstacles." Outside the courthouse, Sarah takes my hand. "Dad, are you okay?" I squeeze her fingers gently. "I'm okay. Are you?" She considers this with the thoughtfulness that's become her trademark. "I feel bad for Mom, but I'm glad we're staying together." Jake nods eagerly. "Can we get ice cream?" And that's it. The end of 17 years of marriage, reduced to a 12-year-old's request for ice cream. "Yeah," I say, pulling both kids closer. "We can get ice cream." 1 year later, I'm making dinner when Madison's name appears on my phone. Not a call. She's not allowed to contact me directly, but a notification that she's texted Sarah again. Sarah glances at her phone, makes a face, and sets it aside without responding. "What did she say?" I ask, stirring the pasta. "Same thing she always says. She loves me, she misses me, she's getting better." Sarah shrugs with practiced indifference. "She wants to meet for coffee to talk about healing our relationship." Madison sends these messages every weekend like clockwork. Carefully crafted appeals that sound like they were written by her therapist. Lots of language about accountability and growth and rebuilding trust. Sarah reads them, sometimes shows them to Jake, but rarely responds. "Do you want to see her?" Sarah considers this while setting the table with methodical precision. "Sometimes, like when something good happens at school and I want to tell her. But then I remember that she's just going to pretend to listen while checking her phone. She might have changed. Maybe, but I'm not ready to find out." Jake appears in the kitchen, backpack slung over his shoulder. "Dad, can you help me with my English essay? It's about someone who influenced your life." I turn from the stove, curiosity piqued. "Who are you writing about?" "You." Something in my chest loosens. "Yeah, I can help with that." We eat dinner around the kitchen table, the same routine we've maintained for the past year. Sarah talks about her part-time job at the local bookstore. Jake describes his science teacher's latest experiment. Normal conversation, but it feels precious now. Intentional. After dinner, Jake spreads his homework across the table. His essay is titled, "My Dad, the Man Who Kept Everything Together." He looks up at me uncertainly. Is that too cheesy? It's honest. That's what matters. I help him organize his thoughts, structure his paragraphs. He writes about reliability, about showing up, about the difference between being physically present and being emotionally available. 13-year-old insights that cut straight to the heart of what went wrong with Madison. Later, after Jake's in bed, Sarah finds me in the living room reading. "Dad, I need to change my emergency contact at school." I look up from my book, already knowing the answer. "From Mom to me?" "Yeah. Is that okay?" "Of course. Any particular reason?" Sarah sits on the couch, pulls her knees to her chest in a protective gesture. "What if something happens and they call her? What if she's busy or doesn't answer or—" She trails off. I set my book aside, giving her my full attention. "Or what? Or what if she just doesn't come?" The fear in her voice breaks my heart. 15 years old, and she's already learned not to count on the person who should be most reliable. "I'll always come," I tell her firmly. "No matter what." "I know. That's why I want to change it." We sit in comfortable silence for a while. Sarah scrolls through her phone, occasionally showing me funny videos or pictures from friends. This is what contentment looks like. Not dramatic declarations of happiness, just quiet moments of connection. "Dad, do you ever think about dating again?" The question catches me off guard. "Sometimes. Why?" "Just wondering if you get lonely." I consider this honestly. I get lonely for partnership, for having another adult to share things with, but I don't get lonely for what I had with your mother. What's the difference? Partnership is about building something together. What your mother and I had toward the end was about managing problems she created. Sarah nods like this makes perfect sense. "Mrs. Chen at the bookstore says you're a catch." I laugh despite myself. Mrs. Chen is 73 and thinks every man who can balance a checkbook is marriage material. "She's not wrong." Sarah grins mischievously. "You do make a good pancake breakfast." High praise from a teenager. "I'm serious, Dad. You deserve someone who appreciates what you do, someone who doesn't take it for granted." Her words hit deeper than she probably intends. This is what Madison never understood. That appreciation isn't just politeness, it's the foundation of partnership. You can't build a life with someone who sees your contributions as obligations rather than gifts. "Maybe someday," I tell her honestly. "Right now, I'm focused on making sure you and Jake feel secure." "We do." She stretches, starts gathering her things. "We feel more secure now than we did before." After Sarah goes upstairs, I sit alone in the quiet house. Madison's latest text is still on my phone, a screenshot Sarah shared earlier. The same therapeutic language about healing and growth, but underneath it, the same self-focus that destroyed our marriage. "I'm working on myself, becoming the mother you deserve. I hope you can find it in your heart to give me another chance to show you how much I love you." Everything's still about what Madison wants, what Madison needs, what Madison hopes for. No acknowledgement of what Sarah might need. No recognition that healing requires consistency, not just good intentions. I delete the screenshot and check the locks on the front door. Tomorrow I'll drive Jake to his friend's birthday party and pick up Sarah from work. We'll probably order pizza and watch a movie, some comedy that makes Jake laugh until he snorts. Normal Saturday night activities that would have bored Madison but feel like victory to me. I never poisoned the kids against their mother. I simply stopped protecting her from the consequences of her choices. Children are remarkably good at recognizing authenticity. They knew Madison was performing motherhood rather than living it. The house settles around me, familiar and secure. Sarah's textbook stacked on the kitchen counter. Jake's soccer cleats by the back door. Evidence of lives being lived fully, without the anxiety of waiting for the next betrayal. I don't think about Madison much anymore. Not with anger or regret or even curiosity about how she's doing. She's become background noise in a life that's grown quieter but infinitely more peaceful. Sometimes I wonder if I'm too cautious now, too careful with trust. But then I remember what trust cost me. 17 years of believing someone who saw my stability as weakness, my devotion as naivety. I turn off the lights and head upstairs. Tomorrow's another day of ordinary moments that add up to extraordinary contentment. Madison still posts quotes about healing on social media. Sarah showed me once, rolling her eyes at the phone screen, pictures of sunsets with text about becoming your authentic self, inspirational messages about overcoming obstacles. She still hasn't apologized. Not to me, not to the kids, not to anyone whose life she disrupted in her quest for self-discovery. Her social media presence suggests she's the victim of a vindictive ex-husband rather than a woman who chose betrayal over accountability. But that's her story to tell. I control a different narrative now, one where children feel secure, where promises are kept, where love is demonstrated through consistency rather than proclaimed through grand gestures. Madison may have gotten her authentic self, but I kept what mattered. And in the end, that makes all the difference. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.